Welcome to the War Insider YouTube channel. It became known in the summer of 2022 about the conscription of prisoners in Russian prisons for participation in the war in Ukraine. In some colonies, the founder of the Russian Wagner PMC, Evgeny Prigozhin, came personally for conscription. Videos of his conscription spread quickly on the internet. In December, the coordinator of strategic communications for the U.S. National Security Council, John Kirby, declared that the number of the Wagner Group in Ukraine could reach 50,000 people. He also noted that 90% of the group could be former prisoners. In January, this information was partially confirmed by the UK Ministry of Defense. Of the 50,000 Russian prisoners conscripted by the Wagner Group to participate in the war in Ukraine, only 10,000 remain, according to the head of the charitable foundation Sitting Rus, Olga Romanova. According to our data, by the end of December, 42 to 43,000 prisoners were conscripted. Now, most likely, there are already over 50,000 of them. Of these, 10,000 are fighting on the front line because all the others have either been killed, injured, gone missing, deserted, or been taken captive, Romanova told the Russian Rights Project. According to her data, prisoners from the PMC began to desert with terrible force in the fall. Many of them, notes the head of the project, ran back to Russia, taking weapons with them. She gave the example of an incident that occurred in December 2022 in the Rostov region. Then a former prisoner who had deserted from the PMC opened fire on the police, injuring one of them. Romanov also speculated that the founder of the PMC Wagner, Evgeny Prigozhin, who promised Putin to win the war, does not keep statistics on missing or deserting prisoners, simply listing them all as dead. This can be testified to by messages that the PMC is returning empty coffins to the relatives of prisoners. Why such big losses? For some reason it's taken for granted that the Wagner Group is more professional than Russian military personnel, but that's not the case. At least, there's no evidence of that. The Wagner Group has been trying to storm Bakhmut for 8 months now. This clearly speaks to their efficiency. On the Ukrainian side, it was said that the Wagner Group and Russian military personnel took Solida with giant losses. According to CNN, Ukrainian military personnel described the events in this direction as almost zombie movie-like. They claim that Wagner soldiers are sent into attack until Ukrainian soldiers run out of ammunition. And when a stormtrooper is wounded, they act as if they are under the influence of drugs. A Ukrainian military serviceman named Andrei describes the battles with Wagner to CNN as a frightening and surreal experience, similar to zombie movie scenes. Here's a quote from him. "Our machine gunner almost went insane shooting at them. He said, 'I know I hit him, but he doesn't fall.' After a while, when he apparently bled out, he fell. They climb on the bodies of their comrades, they step on them." In his opinion, the Wagnerites probably take drugs before the attack. However, let's concentrate more on the attack tactics. The Wagner Group throws groups of about 10 untrained and poorly equipped prisoners into frontal attacks so that the survivors under fire can cover 30 meters and dig in. Next comes a new group advancing a few more tens of meters. When the prisoners' attack is suppressed, the Wagnerites throw in more experienced fighters, often from the flanks, to capture the Ukrainian positions. According to Andrei, one of these attacks lasted 10 hours. According to his story, it was not just waves, it was continuous. From continuous shooting, the Ukrainian machine guns became so heated that they had to be constantly changed. The story of the Ukrainian military is confirmed by Ukrainian and other intelligence data on the methods of warfare used by the Wagnerites. In addition to inefficiency, the Wagner Group showed a huge amount of casualties. The publication Vyorsk reports that the exact number of Russian military and non-formal armed group casualties is unknown, but according to most estimates, it has already exceeded the number of casualties in the Chechen and Afghan wars. BBC and Mediazona were able to reliably confirm the death of 12,200 servicemen. According to the journalist's own estimates, the number of casualties may be at least twice as many. The Ukrainian Armed Forces General Staff estimates the number of Russian military casualties in the war at 100 to 16,000. The War Research Institute believes that Russia's losses are around 200,000 people. During the winter, the number of casualties on the front really increased, reported viewers to two sources in the Russian funeral industry. This period covers the intense fighting in the Bakhmut area of the Donetsk region and Svatovo in the Lugansk region. However, most of the bodies remain on Ukrainian territory, in annexed territories or in border regions. One of the interlocutors clarified, "Those who are not taken away, they bury their own forces, make cemeteries there and bury en masse," he said. As a rule, in border regions and in new territories, such as Lipetsk, Belgorod, Rostov, Krasnodar. According to him, there are quite a lot of casualties, so the Russian military leadership does not bring everyone home to relatives and solves this problem on the spot. Hence, in new regions there are large new cemeteries. Previously, RIA Novosti reported on a cemetery arranged for the Wagner Group in the Goryachny Kliak of the Krasnodar region, and the founder of the company, Evgeny Prigozhin, showed it to journalists. Another cemetery of the Wagner Group was found in the village of Bakhmut in the Krasnodar region. According to the press service of Prigozhin, members of the PMC are buried there, who stated in a statement that in case of death they want to be buried next to the Wagner Chapel. Later, the New York Times reported that the number of burials there has increased sevenfold in the last 2 months. Although it would be easier for the military to bury all those who died in border regions, they face protests from the relatives of the deceased. Most of the families of soldiers have a request to receive the body of the deceased relative, say the viewer's key interlocutors. According to one of them, such requests are received by the Ministry of Defense daily. Therefore, he says, the ministry still tries to bring back the bodies of the Russian soldiers killed as much as possible. This is difficult because in Russia there are no companies that specialize in such logistics, noted one of the interlocutors. Particularly, there are problems with the evacuation of the bodies of private military companies, as the Ministry of Defense has its own resources and logistics, while private military companies do not. The largest of them, the Wagner Private Military Company, is the one that suffers the most, the source believes. They do not have friendly relations with the Ministry of Defense. The ministry does not help the punks with the bodies, he said. They are not officially considered military, so they cannot use the ministry's infrastructure, so they have to deal with the bodies themselves on the market. The bodies of the killed have to be transported partly by military vehicles, partly even by long-haul vehicles, according to the speaker. Trucks and industrial vehicles equipped with refrigerators are in high demand, as they keep the bodies from spoiling, he added. The cost of transporting each body is estimated to range from 50,000 to 100,000 rubles, about 700 to 1,400, the source told Viersky. The publication Ostorizno Novosti wrote about 60,000 rubles, it's about $850 for transportation. The source estimates that hundreds of bodies have been transported in this manner. According to him, these transports are taking place all over Russia. It seems that it is not possible to either retrieve all the bodies of the deceased members of the Wagner Private Military Company PMC or give them a proper burial. In the fall, it was reported that in the hospital in Gorlovka in the Donetsk People's Republic, their bodies were stripped of documents and then packaged in bags for transportation and taken in an unknown direction. According to one of the interviewees in the funeral industry, funeral homes in several regions in the North Caucasus and Central Federal districts have encountered requests for funerals of empty coffins of the members of the PMC. Their relatives were unable to find their loved ones and get their bodies returned home, which is always a tragedy, said the source. He said that he knows of 5 or 6 such cases, and in each case, the Wagner Group did not help the families of the deceased and did not respond to requests for the return of the bodies. The contracts of the members of the PMC do not always clearly prescribe the responsibilities for transporting the killed to their home regions, he said, citing the relatives of the deceased. In the year of war in Russia, they began building more cemeteries. The number of tenders for these purposes has increased by 1.5 times. Since March 1st, 2022, the Russian authorities have placed 39 tenders for the construction of new and expansion of existing cemeteries, calculated by layout based on government procurement data. The largest, worth 378 million rubles, was placed by the administration of Khabarovsk in May of last year. According to the documentation, it is a matter of building a cemetery with an area of at least 5 hectares. The number of planned burial sites is not specified in the technical specifications. The contract was awarded to the local company DFO. Another tender worth 192 million rubles was placed by the Murmansk Regional Committee for Competition Policy. There is no data on the size of the object in the procurement card. The contractor under the contract is the company SDK, which has not received similar tenders before. New cemeteries are also being built in Cherepovets, Ulyanud, Murmansk and Arkhangelsk regions, and in several other regions. The authorities of Krasnoyarsk, Bratsk, and several other settlements have posted tenders for expanding existing cemeteries. The total amount of tenders found by viewers reaches almost 2 billion rubles. During the same period in 2021, Russian regions posted 25 similar tenders, half as many as at the beginning of the war. The indicator in post-pandemic 2019 was even lower, 16 tenders for the same period. In conclusion, despite the fact that the official number of killed Russian soldiers is carefully hidden, there is much circumstantial evidence of huge losses for the Russian Federation. Russia just takes and storms with human resources, not counting them, using them as cannon fodder. As a result, it's just an endless death, such that there is no possibility to transport the bodies back to the country and bury them humanely. Death is such that they are scattered in sacks in hospitals in Gorlovka. Death is such that people who could have lived for many more years, not killing, not destroying anyone, are now at best resting in a grave. And no one especially mourns the prisoners in the private military company Wagner. This is all the news for today. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. We'll be back with more updates and information tomorrow. Thanks for watching.